I may surprise the audience because I think I have developed a reputation that I think is unfounded and unfair, that I'm a negative fan, that I'm a fan that whines a lot about the teams that I root for. But for the second consecutive day on this radio station, I'm in a damn good mood. And I'm in a damn good mood because of one of the teams I root for. Right after our show ended last night, I was getting in my car, and I got a text message. Ding, ding, ding. And it said that the New York Mets were signing Luis Severino to a one-year, $13 million contract. To give you the proper context, for a little over a year, I have pined for Luis Severino. I thought he was going to have a huge year last year for the New York Yankees. I was wrong. And I thought the Mets were going to sign him as a free agent to steal him away from the Yankees, giving him a mega contract. Obviously, that didn't happen. He had a terrible year last year. But even off a terrible year, I wanted him. Because I know the Mets need starting pitching. Not one pitcher, pitching. And I wanted a high-reward, low-risk guy. So to the Met fans that are out there that met that news last night with anger and disgust, to the Yankee fan, and I don't know what's wrong with some of you people that want to mock a smart baseball move and say, you're just eating our scraps. To all of you people, I say kindly and respectfully, you don't know what the hell you're talking about.
What do you mean?
The Mets made a tremendous move last night. I was happy about it. I'm happy about it today. And Met fans and Yankee fans need to pipe the hell down. This is a win for David Stearns.
So I think Yankee fans who are looking at Met fans, and you in particular, because you're the voice of the people, Evan, and you're lauding the signing of Luis Severino. We're not saying, oh, you got a terrible pitcher, even though he was pretty bad last year. I've never thought of him as a bad pitcher. I've just always felt like he's the unavailable pitcher.
Yes.
23 days missed last year with an oblique. The year before that, or back in midway through the year, he missed 53 days with a bat, because it's not games, it's days.
By the way, real quick, I want to give you a stat to back up what you're saying, because you're obviously 1,000% right. Yep. In the last 5 seasons, Luis Severino has made a grand total of 40 starts. 40 starts in 5 seasons.
Over the course of his career, going back to 2016, he's missed 578 days with injury. So it's not that we hated him as Yankee fans. It was just, man, is he ever available? And then last year, I mean, part of it was mismanagement. I almost started to blame the Yankees and their brass because he was screaming for help, right? He'd come out of games, he'd get rocked and say things like, I'm the worst pitcher in baseball. I don't know what's wrong with me. He was screaming for a mental health break.
Yeah.
And he never got it. Yeah. And it frustrated us and it frustrated him.
He was unpitchable for a while. I totally agree.
100%.
Yeah.
But to me, it wasn't even about that. I actually started to feel sorry for him because he was screaming for help and nobody would give it to him. The real reason he frustrated Yankee fans was not his lack of greatness, because he was great in moments. It was his unavailability. It just frustrated you. And especially once other injuries started piling up around the rotation over in the Bronx, it was like, dude, we need you, Sevy. He just was never available.
Tiki, everything you said.
And it's not like he's getting younger.
I get everything you said is right. But the Mets are signing him with a different view of him than the view you guys had of him.
True.
And I'll never forget, and I'll give you a football analogy, guys, that I think is sort of equivalent. There was a day where the New York Jets and the New York Giants made a trade with each other. The Jets traded the New York Giants Leonard Williams. I had a view of Leonard Williams that was far higher expectations for him than the Giant fan did.
Yes.
You guys went out and traded a third-round pick for him. I used a premium top pick for him. So I expected superstardom. You guys obviously expected superstardom because in 2017 and 2018, Luis Severino was one of the best pitchers in baseball.
Yep.
You know how I met Sean Morash? The first argument we ever had. What was our first argument, Sean?
I would rather have Luis Severino as the ace of my team than Jacob deGrom.
And you know what?
Wow.
Even though I won it eventually, in 2017 and in 2018 specifically, it was a damn good argument. That's who he was. And for you guys out there who are Yankee fans, and I understand we have this diverse city where we've got fans of numerous teams. We all have opinions. Your view of him is different than me. Your view of him is, God, he's frustrating. God, he never pitches. And last year, he was unpitchable for a 10-start period a year ago. I get it. I experienced that with you, but I'm not signing him to be that. I'm signing him to be a high-reward, low-risk guy. That's the difference. That's the difference between the way you guys view him and the way I view him. And I'll tell you something else, and I don't mean this to be a jerk. I mean this to be real. Luis Severino is very similar to somebody else that pitches in this town.
Who's that?
The one big difference between the guy I'm about to mention is timing. Timing is everything in life, right?
Yes.
Luis Severino just had an awful season. Luis Severino is going through a part of his career where he's unreliable. So, yeah, he gets to free agency. He only gets a one-year deal. But what if Luis Severino was a free agent after 2018 when he was 19-8 with a 3.39 ERA? He probably would have gotten a mega contract.
No doubt.
Timing is everything in life. It's all about timing. I give you Carlos Rodon. Carlos Rodon has an injury-riddled career, and last year was unpitchable. And in 2020, when he barely pitched, he was unpitchable. And in 2019, when he pitched, he was unpitchable. And in 2018, he was mediocre as hell. But the difference was Carlos Rodon was healthy and damn good at the right time. And he got a mega contract, and you have to live with it. Luis Severino got a one-year deal. And the beauty of one-year deals is they pose no risk other than this upcoming season. But here's where the risk isn't that high. I'm not done with Luis Severino. If your opinion of Luis Severino is, that's your starter, ha ha ha, you losers, well, then you're not paying attention. The Mets need to add not one, not two, but 3 starting pitchers. They're not all going to fit that same category. So I always looked at it and said, okay, I want 3 starters. I want a top kind of ace-like pitcher. That's where Yoshinabu Yamamoto fits in. I wanted a reliable innings eater.
Eventually, it'll flow off the tongue.
Eventually. I wanted a reliable innings eater. Maybe that's Eduardo Rodriguez. Maybe that's Jordan Montgomery. And then I wanted the lottery ticket. I wanted the high reward, low risk. And that guy is Luis Severino. And that's why for the Mets, really good, smart move. If you're a Yankee fan, I get it. But don't take your anger out of him on us.
Well, no, but
the Mets made a smart move.
But I think you're missing it. It's not anger that the Yankee fan has towards Luis Severino. In fact, you're okay with it. Like, good for you, Luis Severino. You got a one-year deal, and it's actually not a bad number for a prove-it-year deal at age 30. This will be his age 30 season coming up.
Yeah.
I don't think Yankee fans are mad about this in any way. It's almost because we like Luis Severino.
No, you're not mad. You're looking down on it as the Mets are stupid.
It's more no. It's more good. Good for you, Luis Severino. But man, I'm glad we don't have to worry about you getting injured again. It's more like we feel good for him because he signed a deal and he landed somewhere.
Right.
And yeah, it's crosstown with the Mets, but it's more like, man, at least we don't have to deal with that anymore.
At
least we don't have to navigate his repeated injuries over and over again.
He has been completely unreliable. But I ask you this, Yankee fans, because this also has to be a reflective moment. Besides the Mets making a move, that really has nothing to do with the Yankees, but he's your guy. This has to be reflective for you. Since Andy Pettitte, who the hell have the New York Yankees developed as a starting pitcher? I'll give you the list. Chen-Ming Wang. What happened? He had 2 good years, got hurt in Houston, was never the same. Ivan Nova. Okay, not bad. And Luis Severino. Now, I take Clark Schmidt. I take Michael King. Let's put them to the side.
Montgomery?
Because Jordan Montgomery. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Who's gone now? Like, the Yankees have not been able to, and a part of it is bad luck, a part of it is blame. Mm-hmm. They have not been able to develop and maintain young pitching. And for a short period of time, it looked like Luis Severino was the jackpot. And it really did. Yeah. I mean, this was a young, emerging star. And a part of it is Luis. A part of it is an inability to stay healthy. But here's the other part I'm really intrigued by. And this is the part that should worry you as a Yankee fan and give me a little bit of hope as a Met fan. Over the last few years, a track record has developed of guys leaving the Yankees and getting better. Sonny Gray was very good everywhere he's pitched but the New York Yankees. And we know why. Because the Yankees were telling him to throw pitches he didn't want to throw. Jordan Montgomery goes elsewhere, and whether it's in St. Louis or Texas, and now he's going to get over $100 million, all of a sudden becomes a really good pitcher. Now, it's a little different with Sevy because a lot of it's health. But last year, when he was pitching, he was bad. Yeah. His velocity wasn't down. His spin rate wasn't down. So what was it? And my hope is that the Mets can unlock that because the reward could be the guy from 2018. And this has nothing to do with sticking it to Shaun or sticking it to Yankee fans. This has everything to do with I want to hit the jackpot on a guy on a 1-year deal. And that's what Severino is. And that's the difference. When you give a 6-year or 7-year contract to a guy who had one good, reliable season, you're taking a monster risk. Carlos Rodon! When you give a 1-year deal to a guy who's a risk, what's the risk?
I see what you're actually doing.
What am I doing?
I see what you're actually doing. You're shaming Brian Cashman. You're shaming the Yankees for going and doing the same thing that the Mets are doing, but they spent a lot more money. The Yankees did than the Mets did. The Mets did it right? And it's all time. You're right about timing. It is timing.
It's all about timing. Carlos Rodon has had one season of making 30 starts. Luis Severino has had 2. The only difference is Rodon had one 2 years ago. Sevy had it 6 years ago.
Yeah, it's all. So is that luck, or is that just, I don't know, seeing things clairvoyantly? I don't know. It's probably a little bit of both. But this is where GMs get evaluated positively or negatively, because when you say no risk, you mean no risk to the club. You're not talking about risk, Sevy going to be healthy or whatever. You're not talking about Luis Severino. You're talking about the impact on the New York Mets this year and going forward. It's not risky. The risk is what the Yankees have with a guy like Carlos Rodon, who you don't know if he's ever going to be healthy fully again, right? And you're tied in for the next 5 years or 6 years, whatever it is. Whereas the Mets have done it prudently so far with David Stearns. Whereas the Yankees, it's been imprudent.
Well,
for a while.
Sometimes you making a move like the Mets move made last night may suck when you go to Baseball Reference, because you look at his numbers, whether he was a Yankee or not, and he was with the Cardinals. But you're looking at, hey, how'd that guy do that we just signed? And you see a 6.8 ERA, or in this case, a 6.6 ERA. It's easy to say, oh, God, that guy's terrible. But really, the positive of that is you have him on a 1-year contract, and you know what he's capable of. You know what he could do. And if he doesn't do that, okay, you kind of wipe your hands and say, fine.
It's 1 year.
It's 1 year. But keep this in mind, because this is what's really important for those that are football fans and basketball fans and hockey fans. Because I think football especially has taken over this town. I think we have become more of a football town than a baseball town. And so sometimes, Tiki, you'll say to me, Evan, you're using that baseball fan mentality. Well, I think sometimes people use the football fan mentality. And I'll explain exactly what I mean by that. When NFL free agency begins, it's the stars right out the gate, and it's a salary cap, and it's almost like an order. Like best player first, second best player second, and then you fill out the roster at the end.
It's almost like they did the deals before they actually did the deals.
Well, which they kind of do.
I mean, the minute free agency starts, XYZ star player signed here.
But it's the stars first.
Yes.
Baseball's different, and it can be frustrating because you're going from the back end. Like, what annoyed me last night sitting around, especially talking to Pete Hoffman, who I like, but Pete and I see things very differently. But he does represent a part of the Met fan base. His reaction to the Mets signing a backup infielder, okay? A backup infielder named Joey Wendell was, this is disgusting, Joey Wendell. And I had to explain calmly to him, Joey Wendell replaces Luis Guillorme. Now, if we want to have a debate, and we're not going to do it here, by the way, on Joey Wendell versus Luis Guillorme, we could have that debate.
Thank you.
But to
Save
act
it for
like,
the Rico.
Oh, I did already.
No, already.
But to act like signing Joey Wendell is, oh my God, these are the Wilpons. He's not being signed to be the third baseman and back cleanup. He's being signed to fill out a roster. And the difference is, in the NFL and in the NBA, those signings happen last. So you've already made your big moves. The Mets need to add 3 starters. They added the third of the 3. So if you react to Severino by saying, really? You're going to trust him? No. No one's going to trust him. He's the third of the 3 starters they need to sign. So Met fans, take a deep breath, because you're pissing me off with some of your anger and irrationality. And Yankee fans, I get it, but understand it's different.
Yeah.
It's like, and here's the baseball analogy I'll give you. Michael Conforto was a frustrating Met, okay? Had a tough time staying healthy, never lived up to our hype. If the Yankees, and he's not a free agent, he opted into a deal, but let's say he was a free agent, and the Yankees signed him to a 1-year deal, I would yell at Met fans for saying, oh, those idiots taking the Mets scraps, he stinks. No, I'd say it's smart. It's a 1-year deal.
It's no risk.
It's no risk.
I think the only thing you're doing wrong here is misreading the Yankee fan. I think the Yankee fan is not mocking you. I think the Yankee fan is somewhat relieved but also happy for Luis Severino because we like him. He just was never available to us. Now, get a fresh start, get the mental health care you need, get your mind right, and go be great. But it sucks that if it does happen, that it's right across town. But I think Yankee fans were just tired of waiting for him to be 2018 Luis Severino.
The Yankee fans were tired of Luis Severino. I think Brian Cashman was tired of Luis Severino. And just to be fair about this, because I think the handwriting was on the wall for a while, Luis Severino was tired of the New York Yankees. There were issues towards the end, whether it's why am I on the 60-day IL? Why are they doing this to me? Like, there clearly were issues over the last few months and years of his tenure here. So it's a proper breakup. Like, I totally agree with that. It was time for both parties to move on. Now, the question I have, and I don't know the answer to this, is if the jackpot hits and if this lottery ticket works, and this is a guy who I happen to be very high on, and I was wrong last year. I own that. I thought Severino was going to dominate last year, and I thought our conversation today about the Mets stealing Luis Severino was going to be a 6-year, $150 million Carlos Rodon contract. That's what I thought. I own that. I was wrong about that. But I've always liked the guy, is my point.
Yeah.
If he does look like the guy from 2018, if all of a sudden Luis Severino's getting Cy Young votes, how's that going to make you feel?
Happy for him?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a hateable Yankee.
Yeah,
he's
right.
just an injury-prone guy.
If he's pitching game 2 or 3 in the World Series, maybe we'll be a little bit jealous. Maybe a little bit jealous. But honestly, I think, Shaun, you're right. We're going to feel happy for him. I'm glad it finally worked out for you.
I'll say one thing about Luis Severino that's negative, because you mentioned the postseason.
Yeah.
I have a long memory. Luis Severino, even when he was great in 17 and 18, could not pitch in the postseason.
Yeah, it's a bad moment. It's a bad moment.
And Evan, just to play
at the time.
Just to play devil's advocate here, and I don't mean to piss you off when I say this, but just the fact that you were dismissive of this, I can understand why Met fans are mad that the first 2 moves they made this year were Joey Bag of Donuts and Luis Severino. Because there's this feeling of that they're resetting, they're regrouping, they're not going to spend money. So Met fans are on edge. So when it's Severino, and a lot of people are bellyaching about how much money they gave him, who cares? And Joey Wendell, that half the fan base probably hasn't heard of, they're going to be aggravated because, number one, Yankee fans are going to mock him. And number 2, they feel like, oh, here we go. The owner's not going to spend anymore. He's snake bit. He's going to go out and bargain bin. It's the Will Ponds all over again.
Loogie, this
just
is
to play devil's advocate. I don't even feel that way, by the way.
I got you. This is the problem with the MLB offseason then. That because everything takes forever, and I said this to Tiki the other day, we're going to try as a show to not react to rumors. Because rumors are annoying and they don't mean a lot. Mm-hmm. We're going to react to news or, hey, this is my opinion on a guy or this is your opinion on a guy. I don't want to live and die on every rumor. I don't think the audience wants to live and die on every rumor. I think we've got to react to what happens. This is a long offseason. Okay, you can't look at a move and say, why was that first, as if there needs to be an order. You need to take a step back and say, well, why was that move made? The Mets, in my opinion, are going to add multiple starting pitchers. If they don't, and literally Luis Severino is the only starter they add, and they're filling out the rotation with Jose Butto and Joey Lucchesi and David Peterson, Tiki, I can promise you this, you won't get happy Evan.
No.
But that's not going to happen. And Joey Wendell, like literally, I can't frame this any simpler for anybody. He's replacing Luis Guillorme. And if you want to debate that, Rico Brogna. You know what I mean? Like,
this is the Rico Brogna podcast.
He wasn't signed to be their third baseman and bat second. If that was the case, Will Ponds. If that was the case, let's go nuts. So I'm happy. And you know why else I'm happy, Tiki? I said something yesterday. I don't know if you remember this. I said there's rumors about Dylan Cease being traded to the Braves.
Yes.
And I'm starting to get antsy.
Yeah.
I want something. I want to eat too. I want something.
You don't want the Braves, who are already better than you, to get just incrementally better than you more.
Yeah, and I also don't want to do nothing. I want something. I need to be fed a little bit. Feed me more. Right. I don't need the whole meal.
Oh, so what you're saying is Luis Severino was your appetizer.
Yeah, you're damn right.
It's what you eat before you eat to make you more hungry.
That's right. He was like my mozzarella sticks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice, I like it.
He was like my buffalo cheese caprice. That's what he was.
You should have stopped with mott sticks.
The buffalo cheese caprice, not a big fan, you guys?
Was he like your father-in-law's stuffing you never gave us?
Oh, that's right. I got to bring in the stuffing.
Wait,
hold on. A week old now.
It's like a week and a half old now.
Is that too old for you guys?
Stuffing?
It's Thanksgiving.
Dude, stuffing molds in like 2 days.
No, hold on. First of all, we froze it, and then we're going to unfreeze it and cook it again. And second of all, most of us have Thanksgiving
How much
leftovers.
Stuffing did you make?
Oh, you don't know Jose, do you?
No, I do not
He
know
made
Jose.
enough stuffing to feed us for 2 years.
Well, but clearly didn't make enough to feed us Monday.
I forgot. That's on me. I forgot about
You're
that.
lazy.
I am. We'll get your calls coming up, 877-337-6666. Plus, I know it sounds like I'm being kind of a jerk to Yankee fans by comparing Carlos Rodon to Luis Severino, but there's also another negative thing that's going around the Yankees right now that we need to nip in the bud. And we'll address that coming up next, plus more of your calls and reaction to the Mets making their first move of the offseason.